go for an evening walk at Holden, back entrance. Such a beautiful evening. We went for a morning walk at the Kirtland trails, and in between there, between then and now, I went for another walk just by myself, no recording. And I also fixed our dryer at home. So I'm kind of in the fixing mood. I fixed the dishwasher yesterday. Yeah. And the parts came for the dryer that I had ordered. The new rollers and a new belt and a new what's it called, a tension pulley, the little thing the belt kind of wraps around or through. And what really needed fixing, I believe, I replaced everything, so I guess I don't know which particular part it was, but I was pretty convinced it was the rollers that were squeaking, and pulled everything out, replaced all that, put it back together, and no squeak. So it's back to working order. So that was a fun little diversion. I was a little disappointed because I wanted to be out walking most of the day because it was a beautiful day. But I just felt like I better do that, not put it off. As I indicated in my last video, it was many months before I finally get around to fixing the dishwasher with the parts that I had ordered, and I didn't want to repeat that. And just get all this out of the way before my work week starts tomorrow. And we still have some time left in the day. That's about 7 p.m. on a Sunday evening. And the beautiful thing about this time of year is that the sun sets around 9 and dusk is around 9:30. So the days are long, and I love that. You can get a lot done these days. You can do some productive things like I did today, fixing the dryer, and some non-productive things, walking around talking into a camera, creating videos that no one will probably watch. But it is fun, and I do enjoy this. I think because it gets me talking. I mean, if anyone gets anything out of this, that's great, but I'm getting something out of this, and that's great as well. And it's interesting to watch where my mind goes during these walks. So I don't know what I'm really going to talk about. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll talk less this evening and just kind of enjoy the walk. We are taking a slightly different way. Kind of the opposite direction through the grass here. Just this time of year, there's such a great feeling that summer is back. And oh man, the number of days in the winter, I couldn't wait to get back to these summer days. And I did my best. I went for walks, which would have been interesting if I was recording things in the winter time. If this keeps up, I guess I will. I don't know how long I'll do this recording. I know I'll walk forever as long as my legs work. But I might record videos for a while and then decide that's enough or whatever. I don't know what'll happen. Right before coming here, I was reminded of something that my pal Jiddu Krishnamurti, you've heard me speak about many times, greatly admire. When he passed away in 1986, one of the last people with him, I don't know, she may have been the actual last person with him, I'm not sure. But her name was Pupil Jayakar, and she was actually his biographer. She wrote, I think, a series of 3 books on him, which are great. I haven't really made my way through all these books yet because I'm a little less interested in the biography of Krishnamurti, even though he's a fascinating person, and more interested in what he was trying to convey or get us to think or do on our own. So I listen to his talks, read his books mostly, and that really has initiated in me this sense of inquiry of where I'm at now. But Pupil Jayakar, on the evening before he passed away, she took his hand, and I think his last words, and he was fairly sick. He was bedridden at that point and unable to move, unable to get up. But he told Pupil, tonight I will go for a long walk in the mountains. The mists are rising. And those are the last words that he spoke to her. She left, and that night he passed away. And I always think of that. I always find people's last words interesting, especially those who maybe saw a little more clearly than the rest of us, if you want to put it that way. And what was interesting is he wasn't physically going to walk in the mountains. He was incapable of walking. So it's interesting. And now he walked all the time in the mountains, when he was healthy, over the many years that he lived in Ojai, California. He did walk every day, rain or shine, from what I understand. Maybe morning and evening, I'm not exactly sure. But he did a ton of walking in the mountains in Ojai, which are amazing if you've ever been there. And I have been there, and I have hiked in the mountains right around where he lived, and enjoy it very much and can't wait to go back. So I'm familiar with the mountains that he hiked in, and I know why he loved it so much there, because I love it as well. I often say my 2 favorite places in the world right now, if I had to pick, and I like a lot of places. I like here, but my 2 favorite places would be Ojai, California, and Sedona, Arizona. And maybe it's because I consider both of those places in some regard to be my spiritual homes. I mean, Jiddu Krishnamurti spent many, many decades living in Ojai, California, and Sedona, Arizona. The red rocks there are amazing. The hikes there are something else. I hope that I get a chance to go back there soon, and if I do, I'll be taking this GoPro with me, and you'll be seeing some amazing things. I just, as much as I love hiking here, it's no comparison as far as I'm concerned with what there is in these places. And I think it's because there's just a grandeur, there's a scale. I love mountains, I love height, you know, hiking up. And then when you get up there, the view that you have is just amazing. I can think of it now, and just the perspective it gives you, you know. And maybe that's why people regard these places as spiritual places, because it gives you a different perspective on this world just by looking again, just by seeing. You know, in Sedona they claim there's these vortexes around in various places, and I don't know a lot about that. Some people I know do claim to know a lot about that, but what I do know is that in those places and in many other places, when you, like, one is at the top of Cathedral Rock, and if you make that hike and get up there, and it's a challenging hike towards the end, and we are at, just to make a note of this, Red Oak Camp, no trespassing. This used to be part of Holden. I think it was called Lantern Court, and I never went there actually, but now it's not. I think they sold it off to Red Oak Camp, which is a camp right across the way, and we can't go that way anymore, so we'll turn around. But yeah, the amazing views you get, and there's just something magical about these places, that's for sure. Call it what you want. I like the word magical. But nothing, I mean, I guess I don't want to say nothing supernatural. I guess I don't know. What I would say is it's just amazing natural. It's like, it's natural. It's just amazing natural. You know, that there's a combination of things that the history, the ancient history of the red rocks in Sedona, and the starkness of the desert, but also with beautiful life there. It's not as lush, right? In that climate, there's a lot of desert, there's a lot of sand, a lot of, you know, red soil everywhere, and you have beautiful plants scattered about that have managed to survive in that harsh environment. It's a testament to the adaptability of life, that things can survive harsh climates, whether it's a desert climate or the very cold areas in other parts of the world. But it's an amazing place. Sedona is an amazing place. So is Ojai, California. And I guess to get back to what I was saying about Jiddu Krishnamurti, I've been there, I've hiked the mountains, I know what it feels like. I think I've hiked on the same trails he did. There's a trail right down the street from where he lived. I hiked that when I was there, staying at the retreat center. And so his last words being, "Tonight I will go for a long walk in the mountains. The mists are rising." And I just, you know, I always wonder, was he getting delirious at that point in time? He's probably on certain medication. I don't really know. I think some of that is described in some of the books written about him. Actually, probably the book that describes it the most is Preparing to Leave by Scott Forbes, who just recently wrote another really cool book. But Preparing to Leave is essentially, the last 6 months of his life are documented in that book. And Scott Forbes, along with Mary Zimbalist, were two of his closest associates that went on trips with him, and Mary lived there with him. And I mean, there's a lot of interesting history, knowledge there, but yeah, that book, Preparing to Leave, describes a lot of what this is. But the last words, his last words to people, Jayakar, and that he was gonna go for a long walk in the mountains, and that night he died. And I guess you could take that a number of ways, right? We could romanticize that and say, yeah, maybe he did. You know, maybe some part of him did take that walk, but we don't know. Right? We don't know what really happened. We know I'm sure that's what he wanted to do. I mean, it's what he loved doing. Just like I love being out here. I love going for these walks. Especially at this time of night, when the sun is setting. I seem to like walking in the morning, and I like walking in the evening. Every morning is like a fresh new day, and every evening is the end of that day. And it's like creation and destruction, you know, beginning of the day, the ending of the day, the cycles of life. Without, you know, even being terribly melodramatic about it. I mean, it's just the reality of it. Every day has a beginning, every day has an ending. And our life is sort of in between. It's bounded by these two extremes, you know, the beginning, the ending. Just like our entire life, you know, is sort of bounded. Its beginning has a beginning and has an end in some way. But in other ways it continues. You know, just like every day, then there's another day waiting. And maybe that's why I like the morning and evening, because it's a reminder of this continuation on one hand, right? And then what is timeless and immeasurable on the other hand, which is not of these cycles, not of this change, this eternal flux that we live in. But yeah, the evening is a nice quiet time. And I think what I also like about the evening is the day is over. Whatever was going to happen that day has already happened. Today it was me fixing the dryer, me going for a walk, me doing some other things. And then it's over, right? And it's time to wind down and to prepare for night. And so there's a quiet. There's always a quietness to the ending of a day. That in the morning is filled with energy, right? It's like even this morning, as I was recording that walk, I had a different kind of energy. I felt like speaking of different things. And now I sort of just feel like winding down. Maybe not going in so deep with whatever, and just paying attention to what's around. So, and this is what we're not doing now, right? We're not at this moment paying attention in that way, because I am talking. And like I said, maybe I won't talk that much. I might even cut this video short a bit tonight, because I do want to pay attention. I do want to sort of slow down. And maybe I'm saying too much. You know, maybe these videos, using too many words and confusing people. But the words don't have that much significance. You know, I don't hold much significance to anything that I say, and neither should you. Words are just words. You know, thoughts passing through the mind, they may come from somewhere, something may cause them, but the truth is just out here. I mean, this is where it's at. There's no need for words. You can put all the words aside, and should. As we were even talking about this morning and many other times, you need a silent mind to listen to truth. The mind must be calm, quiet, silent. You can't have all sorts of thoughts running through your head and expect that you're going to listen and learn something. Right? You can learn if you listen. And if you're talking, you're really not learning. You're just regurgitating memories. So what is new, right? What is not a memory is what is happening right now. That is not a memory. That is new. See that? That's the question. Do we see what's happening now? Not through the lens of the past, through our memory, through our filters, through our perception, our recognition, experiencing even. But just seeing what is. I mean, this is unique. Like, this is, like, this day will never happen again. And we say that. You can intellectualize that and say, oh, that's wonderful, right? But do you really feel that in your bones? That this day is here to be seen and listened to, not described, not as a forum for the past to play over in your head again and again and repeat that. And I mean, I see people doing this sometimes, my friends, who just something bad happens to them in the past, or even something good, right? Either way. And they repeat it, they repeat it in their head. They may say they're processing it, or they have to deal with it. It's not, you're just keeping it alive. You're keeping it alive, the past, in that way. And, you have to have the ability to just drop it sometimes, to just drop what has happened, because it's over. Yesterday is gone, and all the yesterdays are gone, every single one of them. And the only reason that they hang on is in our memories. And if you just start fresh every day, every day start fresh, see what that day has to offer without trying to make it be something. That's another thing. Let things come to you rather than you leading it, guiding it, having a plan. Because if you have a plan every day, then nothing new ever is going to happen. New things happen when you don't have a plan. Right? A plan is like the past trying to organize the future and make the future like the past. Well, let's let the future be the future. Be what it wants to be, not what you want it to be. And then that's when amazing things happen, right? That's when creation happens, newness. Let that happen. I mean, it's happening anyways. Just see it happen. Don't miss it. Because if you don't pay attention, you miss it. You miss the beauty of now that is there. The beauty that every day has, that every evening has. You miss it. So don't miss it. Pay attention. Put down the phone, put down the whatever. Step outside. Go for a walk. This has to be one of the most amazing spots. I mean, I have to add this to my favorite places. I mean, and I guess it's fortunate that I live in one of my favorite places. But look at this. I mean, this is, again, is something, if you don't pay attention, you miss it. The trees far in the distance. I mean, if it weren't for the presence of the road that I know is there, and this parking lot, this is an amazing just patch of nature. Just an amazing sight. it's so immersive. You know, I love when all I see from horizon to horizon are trees. I don't see any buildings. If it weren't for the car, I mean, I don't hear anything other than the birds. And always a car in the distance, because there is a road, so I can hear cars coming and going. But other than that, I mean, this is also amazing. I mean, definitely one of my favorite places on earth to be. And this is this arboretum is a treasure. It is, and you know, it does require energy to keep it this way. I mean, this is something that it's, you know, this is like humans and nature in harmony. What can happen when humans are in harmony with nature? This is what we have. It's a garden. It is a Garden of Eden. I mean, it is just an amazing place that showcases what nature has. You know, humans play a role in organizing and laying things out here, but each tree is doing what it does, right? A tree does not think, not in the way that we. That's not to say the tree is not aware, but thinking being the process of a brain. Since it doesn't have a brain, it doesn't think in that way, but it is aware. I mean, anything that interacts, everything is aware, right? Anything that interacts with its environment, that is awareness, you know, at its most fundamental level. We interact with our environment through our senses because those senses interact in a certain particular way. But every creature, every organism, every even atom interacts with its environment in its own way, and in that way is aware. You know, we have senses, and so we have a consciousness associated with each sense. We have sight consciousness, smell consciousness, and hearing consciousness, taste consciousness, touch consciousness. And I don't know if I left one out. And also mind consciousness, you know, awareness of our own mind and what's happening inside the mind is another sense. You know, aware of our thoughts, just like we're aware of sights and sounds, and we can be aware of our thoughts, so we can be conscious of our thoughts. And this all is consciousness, right? This is the sum total of consciousness, is all of this. And the memories that we have, the emotions, and which are also thoughts, and everything happening within us is our consciousness. But a tree doesn't have that, and a tree doesn't worry about being anything other than a tree. It's very important. Right? The tree is just the tree. It is there. It exists as the tree. It doesn't need to become a better tree or a different tree. That tree is that tree. And it's very happy being that tree. Content, or whatever you want to call it. You know, while we go about our crazy lives wanting to be something different all the time. And then we could learn from that tree that to be who you are and to observe and just be without trying to become something else. I mean, give it a shot. Because so much trouble is caused by our wanting to become, you know. But walking around here tonight, I don't want to become anything. I'm content with being here in this place with these trees, just as I am, just as they are. And nothing has to be any different than that. The birds are very happy. The trees are there. They can land on them and do their thing in the tree. It's just like everything has its part, to play in this symphony of life. And even that's a conceptualization, right? You don't have to compare it to something else. Like, just appreciate it for what it is. All the grass here and I don't know if that's, the seeds on top and the little yellow flowers, which I think are meadow buttercups, I believe. I looked it up once to see like what it was. It does look like a little buttercup that I used to play with as a kid or pick as a kid. But sort of growing wild out here. But then it's why I love coming to this particular place, because then just seeing a field of this and just going on for epically. It's like, what else does anyone need? And this, right here, right now, what it is, not what we want it to be, not seeing something wrong with it, if only this, if only that. No, none of that. And can we do that? Can we just walk without filling our head with thoughts and ideas of what we're going to do after the walk, what we did earlier? Just walk. And that's why it's hard for me now to even talk, because in the talking I'm not doing that, but I'm just trying to maybe just explain, and I feel like I'll cut the video off shortly, because I don't want to lose all the time here that I have in this thinking mode. But it's important, though, to keep everything in perspective, to know the right place of everything. Right? There's a time. It reminds me that there's a time for every season. Right? That quote from the Bible, where it sort of just says everything has its place. Right? That everything. And the art of living is putting everything in its proper place. I mean, there is an art to living, right? The art of living is seeing that balance between everything, that harmony, and not to say one thing is bad, one thing is good, or one thing you should do all the time, and whatever rule you come up, thought-based rule you develop. It's not about that at all. It's just seeing that everything has its place, and not coming up with a system for this either. Okay, now I'm going to tell you how to put everything in its place. No, it's like the intelligence that arises when one is free from conditioning, and love and compassion has its own intelligence. That intelligence knows what to do. Right? Everything that comes from that intelligence is the right thing. It is not the intelligence of thought. It's not the cunning of human beings. And that intelligence knows the art of living, putting everything in its place. Not putting everything in its place, right? That everything has a place, and that everything arises when it needs to and goes away when it's not needed anymore. And in that way, that intelligence can use knowledge when it's necessary, and not use knowledge when it's not necessary. So technology depends on a certain sort of knowledge that we have and developed, and there's no denying that knowledge is there and it can be useful. It's that knowledge that allows me to record this right now and for you to listen to it. That technology. But that's not the end of the story. And that's the important point. It's not all about technology. It's not all about knowledge. Knowledge is a part. It is not the whole. It's part of who we are. It is not all of who we are. And to see all of who we are, you can't let thought control you. You have to see beyond thought, to see if there is anything beyond thought. And thought can't do that. So you can't be in this cycle of thought, of thinking, that we're almost always in, and we don't know anything else. There has to be a freedom from that conditioning to see things as they are, and in the seeing of things as they are, the proper place of everything is. Knowledge is there when it's useful, knowledge is not there when it's not useful, and what is not useful is knowledge about ourselves. The psychological knowledge, the me that we have built up, this idea about ourselves, this image of ourselves that is the image that gets hurt, is the image that is afraid, is the image that experiences sorrow. That is what thought does. So, and you can't just speak about it, right? Speaking about it again is just thought. Like, these are all just like hints, pointing, to just see that for yourself is what's important. See whether that's true or whether that's not true. Take my word for it. What do I know? Likely nothing. Okay, feels about time to shut things down. Thanks for coming with me if you stayed with me this long. If not, this was another enjoyable entry into my journal. Okay, well, have a good evening.